But we start tonight with the shape of the competition, which is going to dominate the discussion from a football perspective in the coming weeks. Caro, you told us you're confident we'll get footy in this year, but it will look like nothing we've ever seen before, as The Age reported on the weekend. The AFL looking at moving all sorts of games into centralised hubs to be played like camps around the competition.
Yeah, so when the NRL first sort of mooted this idea a few weeks ago, people laughed. And I think when Michael Gleeson asked Steve Hocking the question, he was really surprised at the response. But they want to be ready with 2 weeks' notice to go anywhere, because 2 weeks is the isolation period if you do go to Tasmania or the Northern Territory or South Australia. I think it might even be a 2-week notice, not 3-week notice, Craig. And centralised everything. They're looking, I think, at centralising medical staff. The games will be called from the television. You won't have media commentators there calling the games, but there will be a central filming crew. I'm fascinated with how it's going to roll out.
And people would think this is fanciful if you're listening or watching this. You think, oh, this is just a pipe dream at the moment. This is genuinely on. The AFL looking at between 2 and 3 hubs. They won't...
Or even one, I'm told.
Or even one.
Yep.
I would think Tasmania's a certainty in this, because if you look at... So let's run this out. Footy will be back, you think, sometime June, July, August. We don't know when. The balance of probabilities is they will play at the most isolated place they can, because there will be no fans. So if you look at the COVID-19 numbers in Australia right now, and you look down the bottom there, Tasmania at the moment have done a pretty good job of isolating the state with 85, and Northern Queensland's the other one in play. Cairns and Townsville, 3 hours apart, 2 AFL venues already. They played there regularly. I would think that Tassie, Northern Queensland and probably WA are the 3. You can't make a case for any footy at the MCG. There's no need to play it in Melbourne, which has got its issues. Stonington, obviously the highest area of Melbourne, just down the road. And we don't need the crowd. So I would think...
But you do need stadiums with signage, because one of the main reasons you've got these games is because there are sponsors. Yep. So there needs to be LED signage.
No doubt.
And West Australia, I was told, is another one. And there's even a suggestion that the competition has started talking with the state premiers about how they're going to feel about this.
I mean, I think, not to be commercial about it, that they'll be asking the Tasmanian government for support. Like, Tasmanian are a known contributor to the game now. They want to contribute more by having their own team. And the idea of players being there for 8 weeks, it's close to Melbourne. There's the other thing Tasmania's got in its... And I think Tassie would be almost impossible to beat in all of this in terms of being a hub. And it has venues in Launceston and Hobart that have LED signage, as does Northern Queensland, as does Perth. And the idea of going away from your family, bear in mind, it's 2 weeks in to isolate, then it's potentially another 4 to 6 weeks.
So if it's 6 teams go to Tasmania and maybe half of...
Maybe 8, maybe 9, maybe 10.
Yep. And yeah, exactly. But they're worried about the cold weather, I'm told. And they're also worried in Tasmania, because it's going to be pretty cold in July, August. They're also worried with the Northern Territory, which offers some very positive components about, obviously the vulnerability of the Indigenous population.
No doubt. I'm going to ask you about this, Kane. So you're doing a version of this now. You're living away from your family. You would have to self-isolate when you go back to South Australia. The players have been now worked out their deal, but they're going to be made pay a significant price away from family to do this. How do you think they'll cope with that? And do you think the players have really worked out yet that they face anywhere from 4 to 9 weeks away from their families?
We'll ask Joel Selwood when he joins us shortly, Hutch, but they need to understand that, Caro. I mean, everything has to be on the table. The objection will come from the AFL Players Association, where they will object to having the players away from their family for that long, but this is like nothing we've ever seen. So in order for the players to be paid what they deserve to be paid when games come back, this may be the case. I would have thought South Australia is a pretty good spot, Hutchie. World-class facilities, low rate of infection, only 4 in the last 2 days. You've got a centralised location. I would have thought South Australia is a better location than Tasmania.
And I think too, Lordo, that the players who have worked out their deal have probably, in the minds of the AFL at least, not necessarily in the players, been paid a little bit more, because they know that they're going to have to ask them for a favour along the way to get this season going.
Yeah, like Collinsy said, I'm looking forward to asking Joel Selwood these questions. He's recently married. Is he happy to be away for 8 weeks? And I think you'll find that they are ready to do anything to get back to playing AFL football. I think it's just not for them. It's for the staff at the football clubs. It's for the AFL to maybe be able to start the season earlier if we can have all these teams out of the one hub. And I think it's for the football communities who can just turn on their TVs and watch games of football. I don't think, I asked someone in the industry about it tonight, and they said whatever it takes to get our game back earlier rather than later, they are willing to do whatever it takes, even if it means uprooting and going somewhere for a couple of months.